says we are live. I'm going to double check on our YouTube that we're live. And then we'll get started with everything. I think we are. Hello, everyone. Oh, and it looks like Brian's here too. So I'm going to see if we can add him to our call. It's going to be very exciting. If you are here, tell us where you are joining us from. I'm going to try to add Brian. Oh my gosh, I have so many screens up, everyone. I'm very sorry. Okay, here we go. Call it Steve. Gonna add Brian. Here we go. Let's see if this works.
Hello?
Oh, I hear him.
I hear Brian.
Camera not on? Hold on. There we go.
All right. Can you guys let me know when you can see Brian? Let's see. Can I make this work for everyone? Oh, Brian, this is why you should have been in charge.
Yeah, and I forget how to do it. I think you have to click the
there we go. Got it.
thing a couple times. There we go.
I did it. Look
Very
at
nice.
me. Okay, so how is everyone doing today? Yes, okay. So if you have not already done it, tell us where you are watching from. Tell me what your plans are. What are you doing this weekend? All of those fun things. I'm sorry that it took us a little bit to get started today. But, you know, it's super rainy here in Minnesota. It's like miserable. It's one of those days where you just like don't want to get out of bed. What's it like where you guys are at?
Well, I'm in Atlanta, and it's very hot and dry.
So you guys
I'm having a
like
day
the weather.
probably like yours, Angela, where it's like 65 and drizzly all day.
It's just kind of miserable. I'm not really feeling it. But if you are now coming to this live stream, we are talking about Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party because there are some different aspects to it. And we're going to answer some questions. I know a lot of you have questions about the hurricane and how Dorian has affected Walt Disney World and the crowds. You know, if you have any other crowd calendar questions for Steve while he's here, we can talk about that as well. And yeah. Let's just kind of get started. Now, Steve, when did you go to the Halloween party?
So I went the third party. So it was like Friday, August 25th. So it was the week before your visit.
Yeah. So did you go to Walt Disney World and then leave and then come back?
I did. So I had two 4-day trips. I brought different children both times. So I had a 17-year-old daughter and a 16-year-old niece on the first trip. It was my niece's first trip to Walt Disney World, so we did the Halloween party and tried to expose her as to much as we could. And then the weekend I saw you, I brought Isaac, my son, who is 15, and a buddy of his from here for Star Wars Galaxy Open.
Oh.
So I'm just a good guy.
There's a lot of sacrifices to make for your family, Steve.
Yes.
Okay, at one point I was seeing two Steves and no Brian, so I did fix that.
I saw that too. It's weird. Usually I'm the one running this, so I see it kind of in real time, but now I'm...
Oh, wow. Yeah, there's two of me.
I am 100% letting you down, Brian, right now. I feel like the worst Brady Bunch creator ever.
I was going to say, it just keeps flipping now. This is fun.
I know,
I
it's
think there's one
so
setting
embarrassing.
I think it might be the Skype setting, actually, where it shows whoever's talking, or something. I don't know. I think I've only ever done the three-way once, so...
Well... What happened when it was Steve, Fred, and I is I made all the mistakes before we went live. So so like the public did not see this part of me, but now it's like, you know, I can't get away from it. It just is what it is. Okay, so we have...
Yeah, I cannot wait until my kids are teenagers and want to be taken to Disney World separately with friends instead of together. It'll be fun.
Well, and
I seem to do better with taking a spouse or a child by themselves.
Well,
So,
you get to do what they want to do too, right? So they don't fight or argue.
Yeah, and they're also so used to it. They really, it's pretty easy taking them they're willing to. They're up for most anything and not doing anything as well.
It's a good way to do it. And you just drive there because it's not too bad of a drive.
Yeah, it's about 6.5 hour drive from here.
That's
When we took Ben, the kid we brought with us, they must stop more when they drive because we pretty much stop once or twice.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, "Wow, it takes us like 8 hours to get there." So
I drove
6.5 hours is long enough for me. We pushed through.
I think that's about all I could do. Now, for all of you listening, how is our audio? Because I'm getting a little bit of a, with you, Steve, it's kind of going in and out, and I'm wondering if that's on my end. How does it sound for both of you?
It sounds good for me. Now I can try to move my microphone a little closer, maybe.
No,
it sounds more like it's a connection issue than a mic issue.
Okay.
But
all right.
Which might just be because there's 3 people on here too. So we might have to. That's why I said I might have to just drop out after a little bit if.
Oh, it was good last time. Let's go into the comments. So we got Nicole from Iowa. We have Tom from Pennsylvania off to Disney in November, so that's coming up. Genevieve is leaving in 2 days on the 15th and doing Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party, so eventually we're going to have to talk about that for sure. And Greg said, hello, just read the blog and saw that you postponed the crowd calendar update for good reason. I'm going the 27th to October 2nd. Sounds like the crowd projections might go down. Did I read that right? So, Steve, can you take a minute to talk about that? Oh my gosh, it keeps switching to just to double people. This is very frustrating. I don't know why this is happening. Steve, can you talk about the crowd calendar post that you posted?
Yeah, so our initial plan was to give a couple of weeks of data with Galaxy's Edge open, and then we could do our models based on data, not just speculation. And then this hurricane got in the way and scared everybody away. So we all saw the crazy lines the first day of Galaxy's Edge opening, and then nothing. Nobody was at the parks. Well, close to nobody. So people had canceled their trip pretty much in advance of the hurricane. So the whole week was pretty much shot for people going to Florida. It was great for us that we're there. But now we're still seeing crowd levels pretty low this week. And that's also September. September is a very low crowd time. Kids are back to school. Hurricanes are still showing up. So if I was Disney, I wouldn't worry about attendance quite yet. If we see this in October, they might need to start worrying about attendance. So since we don't really have good data yet on the impact of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, we're going to postpone till October 1st. Okay. Our preliminary predictions assumed about 10 to 20% increase in attendance due to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. That was probably on the high side, so we're kind of pulling that back a little bit. But a couple of weeks of data will tell us if that adjustment was good or bad, and then we'll feel better beginning of October knowing if we need to include any sort of adjustment for the opening of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, or if it's just going to be normal fall. So that's kind of why we are just leaving things as is. We did make some adjustments to attraction wait times, especially for extra magic hours. I predicted they were going to be slow, but they're even slower than anybody could have hoped for. Mm-hmm. So there are some adjustments. So if you re-optimize your touring plan, you probably will see some adjustments in the next couple of days in your plans. But we didn't change the crowd levels just because changing them now would be just guessing, and we'd rather make our changes based on data, not based on fear or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And do we track the Halloween parties and just those kind of parties, Christmas parties? Do we track those as well?
Well, Brian has his his videos and blog posts about how we rank them. Mm-hmm. So they don't show up really in the crowd calendar. And if anything, the parties actually divert crowds from the day guests because the park closes at 6 o'clock, and people that want to get the most out of their park ticket are going to a park that stays open later.
Mm-hmm. So how have those parties been looking? Is there a way for us to evaluate that for people who don't know much about this?
We know that the parties were, I think the party that you went to, the Friday before the hurricane,
Mm-hmm.
I think was the lowest attended that we've seen.
Yeah.
I think Len posted something like that. So it was affected, the attendance at the Halloween party was affected by the hurricane as much as everything else.
Yes, and we, on the Lines app, I was using our wait times, and they were very accurate. I actually timed my wait using the Lines app, and it was spot on. It said I was going to wait on Peter Pan's flight for 24 minutes. That's exactly how long I waited. And same with Big Thunder Mountain. I went from there to Big Thunder Mountain, and it was less than 5 minutes. So you can use that during the party in case you didn't know. So. All right, do we have any other questions? Didn't you do a dessert party too while you were there?
So during the Halloween party, they have a dessert fireworks, but they also got Cruella DeVille's, I got the full name. But basically it's an ongoing party from 9 o'clock till 12:30, where they've got a bar of beer and wine and non-alcoholic beverages, appetizer type food, but you could eat as much as you want. I mean, you could definitely make a meal out of it, desserts. So that all sounds great. And the event itself was okay. The negatives is it's $100.
Yeah.
And it's at Tony's Town Square, which is at the very front of the park. So it's not really like a centralized location that you can pop in and out of. So it does come with, for the second parade, there was a roped off area in the hub by the flagpole for viewing. But again, that meant you have to be that part of the park at that time. So I think it costs a lot of money, and it really wasn't convenient, and you've already got as much candy as you want, so more food really wasn't a huge perk for me.
Yeah, it's called Cruella's Halloween Hideaway, and it is weird because I thought when I first read about it, I was thinking it would be somewhere like the Tomorrowland Terrace, like they would just use the back part of it for like food service, which would be a lot easier to get in and out of than walking all the way to Tony's. That seems like a pain. I don't usually when I'm in Magic Kingdom, the only time I'm in Town Square is when I'm entering or leaving. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I went in there twice. Once before the fireworks, and then one at the end of the night. I mean, you could spend the whole day there, but I don't know why you'd spend $100 plus $80 for a park ticket for the party and just stay at Tony's.
Right.
So
you can kind of leave and come back, which is a pro. You don't have to just stay there and be committed.
Right. So they gave you a wristband so you can come in and out. And Cruella DeVille, when she's not performing on stage or in the parade, she's at the party. So she is doing, meet and greets and stuff and walking around. But in general, I think it's not a good use of money or time.
Is it fun, though? Is it like, if people are looking to splurge, is it something that's fun?
The food was decent. The interaction with Cruella DeVille was fun. But, I mean, that's really the only entertainment. So the fun part really, it's, and you can move around, and there's outdoor seating at Tony's, so you can kind of watch the parade even from Tony's. You don't really need that private viewing area if you were there during a parade. But fun, I don't
It's
know how you judge fun.
arguable. So
Yeah.
for $100, you're meeting Cruella de Vil. You're getting pretty good food, viewing for the parade, and you can kind of come and go as you please for the whole night.
Right. And you do get beer and wines. That's probably during the party the only place if you really have a habit. But
and it's fun if maybe.
Yeah. And they did let me take a can of Coke out, so I did have a beverage to walk around the park with.
Well, and that is the thing about the Halloween party is that they give you drinks at the Christmas party, right? But I don't see them at the Halloween party. They just kind of give you candy.
Right. Yeah, the cookies and cocoa is just at the Christmas party.
Right. Okay. Let's see if we have any other questions. Brian, while I look at the comments, you did not really enjoy your Halloween experience.
No, not so much.
He has a video all about it, too.
We do, yeah. We have a video from, it must have been mid to late August of 2018 that is up of the first Halloween party last year, which was, I think, August 16th, 17th, somewhere in that range. It was very crowded. Much more so. This is the first time I'd been to a Halloween party. I'd been to a couple Christmas parties before, and it was much more crowded than any of the Christmas parties I had been to, including Christmas parties that had sold out. So it's not just that I picked good days before. And being that it was mid-August in Florida, it was like 100 degrees with the heat index. I think it was like 104 or something that day. It was a heat wave even for Florida. So that combination really made it less enjoyable for me than I wanted to be. I also, I was just there by myself. My kids weren't there or anything. So I really just I saw the parade. I saw the Hocus Pocus show. And I did the rides that had the special overlays, which were Space Mountain, Pirates of the Caribbean, and, Mad Tea Party I didn't actually do. I just filmed from the outside. So that was pretty much all I did the whole time. So it was really just a lot of standing in crowds in the heat.
Oh, and it was so hot the day you went too, because it was like August 17th or something.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
And it was bad.
I'm not exaggerating with the heat index. I think it was 104, 105, something like that day. It was, or that might have actually been the straight temperature. I don't even remember. I know I have a screenshot from my phone of walking into the party, and it was, I think, 99 without the heat index at that point. So, yeah, it was rough.
And I guess, there were some new things this year. So I typically usually skip 1 or 2 years and go. So this is the first year that I saw the overlays. So I think they added characters to Pirates.
Yep.
They almost had to. There was like one last year.
Yeah, so there were 4 actors actually in the ride and 2 in the
queue. In the ride. See, when I went, they weren't in the ride. They were just in the queue.
And see, last year there was 2 in the queue and just 1 in the ride. So
maybe I didn't even notice them in the ride then.
And I was kind of surprised that Space Mountain with all the lights off. Really, it does make a difference than the stars.
It does. I wondered if it made a difference because people were telling me it did, and I'm like, really? And I didn't go on it because I was like, well, how much of a difference is it going to make? But it does.
Yeah.
Yeah. It always Space Mountain always seems dark, but it's not really dark. You find out until you go in with all of the lights off, and you really cannot see anything in there.
And then the teacups, they just have kind of that light overlay, music overlay. They did that for Villains After Hours as well. So nothing. Yeah,
that's an easy one to do. And Space Mountain's got to be pretty easy too. You just turn the stars off.
Right. I was going to say something else, but go ahead.
But for some reason, they have like a whole shut the ride down, turn the lights off, and get it back up. So there is a delay between day operations and nighttime. I would think it would just be a light switch turning off the stars, but they have to go through some sort of operation.
I got lucky. I was actually in line when they did it because the cast members out front kept telling us, like, oh no, they don't start it until 7. And I asked, well, what happens if you're in line at 7? And they literally didn't know, because it was the first time they'd ever done it.
Oh.
So I got in line about 7:15, and I kind of figured, well, you know what, I'll just start letting people in front of me if I have to. And I was about one turn in the switchbacks away from boarding when all of a sudden everything shut down. You could hear they shut down the motors, everything. It only took about 5 or 10 minutes, and then it came back on. So we assumed that was the turn. Well, it was the turnover, because you could hear the music change. But
that's kind of cool.
So it didn't take too long, but yeah, I was surprised that they shut the entire ride down. Like, it seems like they could just let it run while they change that, but it's an old ride. Maybe the mechanics don't work that way.
Shannon actually was at the same party you were, Brian, last year. And she
Yeah.
said that it was awful, hot, and way oversold. And I went exactly a month later in September, and it was like the opposite experience. It was still very humid, very hot, but the crowds were way better.
Yeah, I think our boss Len theorized that maybe they sell that first party a little higher than they do the rest of them, just to get all of the locals and bloggers and media people and whatever we want to call ourselves that go in to, like, you know, report on it. Because it was the first time. I think I had been to the first Christmas party the year before, I think, and it wasn't nearly as bad. But that one, and I wonder this year if they did that again. But I didn't hear any reports of it, and the wait times sure don't look like it. So it might have just been kind of a one-time thing that they tried, and it did not go great.
Let's answer some questions that we have. Let's see. Nicole said, what is a good touring plan strategy for getting Seven Dwarfs or Jack and Sally? Are rides as important if we're touring Magic Kingdom on the other days? And we do talk about this on our webpage for the Halloween party. But if one of you want to talk about this, that'd be great. Or I can.
All right. I was going to say, one thing that they changed this year, which improves Jack and Sally meet and greet, or theoretically should. I stood in line and then gave up on them. They have moved Jack and Sally to Town Square and are using the Tinkerbell meet and greet area.
Oh.
So that allows more people to go through because of the magic they do indoors. So theoretically, one, you're waiting indoors, not in Florida heat, and they can have more people go through. So that may be one that you're willing, that you don't have to line up at 4 o'clock to get in line.
Mm-hmm.
Now, really for Seven Dwarfs, I think that's the key, is you just have to show up before the party starts and be lined up to meet them, or be willing to sacrifice half of your party.
Did you notice, Steve, were the Seven Dwarfs still back in the Storybook Circus area?
I did not see them, but I believe that's where they're at.
Yeah, that's what last year they were way in the back there, where like.
Were they at the train station?
No, it was. It's where the FastPass kiosks are, like right next to Pete's silly sideshow. It's kind of a covered area, and they had them in there last year. And Jack and Sally were where they had been, which was the gazebo in Liberty Square. And last year, Jack and Sally, there were people lined up. I think I saw them at 3 p.m. already lined up for it. But the Seven Dwarves, I went back there at, I don't remember exactly. I think it's in the video, 9:30, 10 o'clock. And the line didn't really look that bad. I mean, it was probably still 45 minutes or so, but that's not terrible for that. So, like with everything, if you can't get there early, try late and see, because sometimes you can sneak in a little bit later, or like during one of the parades, just, if you see the early parade, go during the second parade.
But they don't do meets. If the character is in the parade, they don't do the meets.
But you can they still let you line up during the parade. Yeah. So as soon as it's done, then you'll be presumably close to the front. So
that's a really good thing to point out, though, because a lot of people might not know that during the parade, if they're in the parade, they're not there.
They can't be in two places at once.
Doesn't make sense. Yeah, they can't apparate. Another good question is, this year they introduced the Party Pass. Walt Disney World did, where if you pay like $2.99 or something, you can go to all of the Halloween parties Greg wants to know, has the party pass increased the crowds at Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party? I mean, are people even buying that?
I think it's got to be a very small market for that ticket.
Yeah. I mean, it has to be locals or people who are doing multiple trips, live a state away or something. I think it's cool for people who are like, oh, I wish you could get something like that instead of having to dish out all this money. But yeah, I do wonder who's buying that. Okay, another question. Nicole is asking a lot of good ones. How early do we really need to arrive at the gates for extra magic hours and extra magic hours for the parks?
So I've been surmising what this is going to turn out to be, and so far I've been right, which is kind of cool. So extra magic hours means that Hollywood Studios is opening at 6 o'clock for 3 hours of extra magic hours, and Hollywood Studios and Animal Kingdom is opening at 7 o'clock for hours of extra magic hours every day until November 2nd. That is a whole bunch of extra magic hours.
Yeah.
So the need to get to the park an hour before extra magic hours is not needed. 7 a.m. is very early for Magic Kingdom and Animal Kingdom, and 6 a.m. is very early for Hollywood Studios. You can do a whole bunch before 9 o'clock in any of those three parks without FastPass, without lines, without getting it there an hour early. I went there. It was during the hurricane, so that had some effect, but it also was when it was brand new, so I don't think it's going to be that much different the rest of the fall. Is that there's actually and this would happen anytime, but like Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, 20 minutes into extra magic hours had wait times of 10 and 15 minutes posted, where at 7:30 I walked on and rode a train half empty.
Wow.
There was nobody in Tomorrowland, Animal Kingdom. The same. I walked around the park about 7:30. They were actually shutting down the external queue, and when I got in the queue, they had half of the indoors bypass. So I did have to wait like 20 or 30 minutes for Flight of Passage, but that's pretty good for Flight of Passage if you only have to wait 20 or 30 minutes.
Yeah, it's not the 30 or the 2 hours that it normally is.
So I think what these early extra magic hours are doing for Magic Kingdom and Animal Kingdom is anybody that would get there early will be there and gone before you show up.
Yep.
So even if you aren't staying on property and you're in the park, or you want to go to the park, you can't get in until 8 o'clock. There isn't a wave of people at 8 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
So there, I think it's going to be some of the best touring you can do at the parks, and Disney's going to regret giving all these extra magic hours.
Yes, I think they already are. But yeah, that's what we've had a couple of questions from people, emailing us and things about what to do if you're staying off site. But that's the thing, like 8 o'clock is still early for a lot of people in the parks. If you get there at 8 at Magic Kingdom or Animal Kingdom, you're still going to have fairly low lines. And like you said, Hollywood Studios, people are probably basically done if they were there at 6 a.m. So, it's just Epcot, and Epcot is the only one that doesn't always have extra magic hours. So you can still just do normal rope drop there. So it's still not bad, yeah.
And I know I did this chat with both you and Fred, so I don't remember which one of you said it, but this is the time to take advantage of that, because after this, it just makes sense for Disney to do some kind of paid early morning magic thing for, Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah.
So this will never happen again. This kind of thing is what you guys were kind of saying, correct?
Yeah. Like I said, I think out of anything that they've done for preparation for Galaxy's Edge, this is probably a misstep, in my opinion. It's great for guests, but probably not best for Disney's bottom line.
Yeah, I'm curious to know. I'll be there in a few weeks, and I'm curious to see what the extra magic. I'm gonna try to hit 1 or 2 extra magic hours and see what the crowds are like then, after the, when it starts getting back into a slightly busier time. So I have a feeling they're still going to be empty right up till November.
Steve had me convinced to do that 6 a.m. wake up, but then after getting up at 3 a.m. for Galaxy's Edge, I was like, I can't do it, Steve. I'm sorry, I'm too tired.
Yeah, I mean, so it was August 30th, so it was the day after Star Wars Galaxy's Edge opened. Hollywood Studio opened at 6 a.m. to all guests, not just on-site guests.
That's right.
I was the only person on Hollywood Boulevard. It was lined with cast members waving, and they were just, nothing was going on there.
They're welcoming the park to you.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. And it would have been me, but I was sleeping another hour. Wow. Brian, do you have your dates for October? So if people are there, they know to say hi to you?
The days I will be in the parks are October 3rd, 4th, and 5th. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So.
Okay, so if you're there, say hi to Brian.
I'll be in all 4 parks at different times, so not sure exactly which one's when yet.
And make him take a goofy picture with you.
Sure. Very little Hollywood Studios, I would imagine. I want to run over there just to shoot some video in Galaxy's Edge, but that's about it for that one. I'll focus more on the other 3, I think, for now.
Do you have any reservations for the Cantina?
Yeah, I have 2 different ones on different days, actually, just because I'm not sure which day I'll go over there yet. So I have to figure that out this week so I can cancel one of them. But although it's a reservation for 1, I'm not sure how many people that's going to help. But
party!
Yeah, for real. And I honestly am debating whether I should even take the time and do it, because it looks the same as the one in California, and I will be by myself. So I'll be there again. At some point with the family. So I'm sure we'll all go in then. So I might just skip that one now. But I do want to see what the differences are between the Florida and the California versions. It'll be where Skyliner officially opens.
Well, speaking of Galaxy's Edge, what are you 2 thinking for opening day, opening month of Rise of the Resistance? Crowd-wise.
Well, the end of December is going to be very crowded, but it always is very crowded during the
What's going on then? It's going to be busy for a reason?
So it'll be interesting to see. We would assume, but we kind of assumed that even with one attraction opening. I think we could assume that Disney will never open a new land without the headliner attraction.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think all of Disney is betting on Rise of the Resistance bringing in the crowds. So the first couple of weeks of December will have the chance for locals to get in there, and then their blackouts will start in the middle of the month. Cast members will be blocked out. So we expect the crowds to be higher in the early December than normal. High crowds during the holidays, and then tapering off into January until spring break. But we still expect them to be higher than normal, but how much higher, time will tell.
Yeah, remains to be seen. We can go back to the comments. Advice on doing the Halloween party, or Christmas party too, I suppose, solo. Which I think Brian and I have done. So, Brian, what advice do you have?
Sort of. I mean, like I said, I was there, basically to just kind of catalog what was going on in the new stuff. I wasn't necessarily for the party, but I don't think it's really any different than what you would do if you were there with friends or family or something like that. I mean, the things that I generally recommend people focus on are the things you can't get elsewhere. So the parade is fantastic. The fireworks, some of the rare character meets, if that's something you're interested in. That's all stuff that is is perfectly easy. In fact, easier to do solo because you can walk up to and kind of squeeze your way into a half decent viewing spot for the parade, pretty close to the parade. It helps. I am also tall, so I don't even, if I'm by myself, I don't bother getting a spot for the parade. I just find somebody that's a little shorter than I am, and I stand behind them, and I can see pretty well. But in most cases, if you don't mind being a couple rows back, you can just kind of walk up. Same with fireworks. Finding a spot for one is way easier than for multiples, especially if you have kids that have sightline issues. Then, the candy lines. You go through basically single file anyway. Like I don't really think there's going to be that much difference going solo. You just get to do whatever you want, and you don't have to listen to other people. Yeah,
it's kind of nice in that way. What I will point out, this has nothing to do with going solo, but what I thought was really neat is, and I don't know if they did this last year, but this was the first time I saw it. They have different resting areas within the attractions where you get candy. So I went inside Mickey's PhilharMagic to get candy, and inside the attraction they were playing Ichabod and Mr. Toad. They were playing Sleepy Hollow or something. I've seen it, I just can't think of the official name. They were playing that. It was nice and air conditioned, and you could just sit in the chairs and watch it and eat your candy.
Yeah, that is new. That was not there last year.
It was so nice, and you can decompress. Like, I can totally see if your kids are getting overwhelmed, just kind of relax in there. And then
they did the same sort of thing for Monsters Laugh Floor, where it was a candy stop, but they had an ongoing show, so you could sit and watch the show. And I found a couple of hidden candy spots. So there was a candy stop at Dumbo. So if you rode Dumbo, there was an extra candy stop in there. I'm trying to remember. There's another attraction that did the same thing. So it was not on the map, but they had some extra candy.
They had one in the queue for Peter Pan. Like, it was in the queue waiting. And then outside Big Thunder Mountain, but like it was barely lit up. So very random places, like where if they were hardly even seen, you'd miss them. So
that's neat. Yeah. I like that because one of the things that I didn't like about being at a very busy party was that some of the candy lines were ridiculously long, to the point where I couldn't tell that they were candy lines because they were so far away from the candy stations. Yeah. So it's nice that I like that they're trying to spread them a little bit. I like, because I was also at Disneyland's Halloween party when it was in Disneyland, which it's now
neat.
at DCA. Now this year it's at California Adventure, but I was there. Last year I went to Mickey's Not So Scary, Mickey's Halloween Party in Disneyland, and Halloween Horror Nights at Universal Orlando. So but in Disneyland they formed more of them into like the treat trail style, where like and some of them were back on, like, near Big Thunder Ranch, which now is the entrance to Galaxy's Edge. So I'm sure that they wouldn't have used that anyway. But you'd get back there, and there was like nobody there, and you just walk in, you can get candy from like 12 different stations at in a line, and it was to the point where we had the kids going through the candy, picking out the ones they didn't like, just to create more room in the bags because they had so much already.
Well, yeah, at this point, like the ones that had the big inflatable, treat sign kiosk things, were the ones where I went into for Mickey's PhilharMagic. Most of them really didn't. So it was nice because it was an opportunity to get more candy without even trying. I wasn't even going to go trick-or-treating, so you just incorporated it into the ride experience. Yeah,
that's great.
It was good. Do you think they will offer early morning magic at Magic Kingdom and Hollywood Studios in January? What do you think?
Yes, but not every day.
It'll be the early morning magic is what we mentioned before. That's the paid event. It's a separately ticketed event. That's 45 minutes to an hour, or I think it's an hour and 15 minutes or an hour and a half, depending on which park I think it was. Before it opens, usually for a certain land. So one they've done at Magic Kingdom is for Fantasyland, and I do, if you want to look at our YouTube channel, I do have an early morning magic Fantasyland video where I don't realize it's Fantasyland, and I wander into Liberty Square by myself.
You got lost.
Yeah. It was until I realized there was literally no one around, and I thought, oh, this isn't right. But And then I think Steve did the one at Hollywood Studios, which was just Toy Story Land at the time. We are all assuming they will do an early morning magic event for Star Wars Land at some point. Mm-hmm. Most likely it will be more expensive than the others. Yeah. We don't know when that will start, but January, February time is a pretty good bet. And they keep selling out those Fantasyland ones in the Magic Kingdom, so there is 100% chance they bring that back. But yeah, like Steve said, it's not, it's not an everyday thing. They usually do it 2 or 3 times a week, along with the extra magic hours, which are the ones that are free for hotel guests, which are also like, once to twice a week.
Yeah, and let us know if you have any more questions, because I think we will be wrapping up soon, so get your questions in now. Let's see, where are some other ones? Okay, so for the FastPass tiers for Epcot, Test Track, Frozen, or Soarin'. Little boy doesn't really like Soarin' that much. What do you think? I would say Soarin', but that's just me, because I like Soarin'.
Well, speaking of videos, we did do a test video on this a little while ago. I believe it is called Which Ride to Ride First at Epcot, something like that. If you search Epcot Rope Drop, I think it would also come up. And it was myself, Steve, along with statistician Fred, our boss Len, and one of our developers, David. We were all at Epcot at the same time, and the idea was that we would each do 2 attractions, 2 of the 3 big attractions that she mentioned there, Soarin', Test Track, Frozen, but in a different order. And coming from a different place. Some of us were at the main entrance, some of us were in International Gateway. What actually happened was the Test Track was down. So it wasn't quite as helpful as we wanted it to be. But I think what we actually kind of decided at the end was that if you want to do Test Track, that's a pretty good FastPass option. One, because the actual wait times at all 3 of them tends to be fairly similar, especially the first hour. But Test Track is much, much more likely to have operational issues. Mm-hmm. And if you have a fast pass for it, you can then just use it later in the day, or get an anytime fast pass where you can go on one of the other 2 twice then. So that we kind of decided that was probably the best one, just for that reason, that it might just not be working, and then you get a free anytime fast pass. So
that's a really good point. I didn't think about that. It's always down at least once.
I've got a little visitor here.
Oh, not so little.
No.
I'm very surprised. I usually end up with a cat in most of my live videos, and I don't know where she is now.
I end up with a kid, so same.
I've got one dog sleeping over there. The cat's sleeping over there too. Yeah.
How many pets do you have now, Brian?
4. 2 dogs, 2 cats.
Oh my gosh.
It's been as high as, I think, 6 at one point.
6? That's a lot of animals.
Right. I see a question from Ted that we can answer here.
Go for it.
So they questions for extra magic hours at Magic Kingdom. What rides and attractions are open? So for all morning extra magic hours, only Fantasyland and Tomorrowland are open. And the meet and greets were not going on, but all the attractions were open. Even Carousel of Progress was open at 7 a.m. Now, Disney's fine print on extra magic hours is that it's select attractions and experiences. So they can modify that whenever they want. Mm-hmm. So, like when I was there, Goofy's roller coaster wasn't running, but I don't think it was because it was extra magic hours. I think it was just operational issues. But those 2 lands pretty much should be fully operational.
So they would not pick headliners like Splash Mountain, Big Thunder, Haunted Mansion.
Well, those are never open for extra magic hours.
Right. Yeah. I never thought about those not being open.
It's all my personal opinion has always been that the Magic Kingdom extra magic hour is the least useful, because most people end up just going to Fantasyland, so the wait times there are not that much better than you would get just on a normal rope drop day.
Yeah.
And then what happened to us last time I was there with my family, we did do like Space Mountain and Buzz with very low weights, and then we had a FastPass for Seven Dwarfs Mine Train later in the day, so we weren't trying to do that, but we did a couple other Fantasyland ones at okay lines. And then the idea was, okay, we'll then head straight for Big Thunder and Splash, and hopefully we'll beat the crowds from like the hub there. Well, we didn't. We actually saw the crowds moving in front of us as we got to about Liberty Square. So we ended up just getting caught in the rope drop crowd anyway.
Oh.
So it really, other than like Buzz Lightyear and Space Mountain, we really didn't get any other rides in that hour. So for a lower weight than we would have on a normal day. So. It's not my favorite of the Extra Magic Hour for that reason, but now, I mean, to answer the question, like Steve said, it is select rides like Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, Peter Pan, Space Mountain. The big ones will always be open whenever they can be. The only reason those would be taken off is for mechanical or operational issues of some sort. Those will be open whenever and they almost always are for the Extra Magic Hour, and you should still go to those first.
With that said, would you suggest that people take advantage of the other morning Extra Magic Hours? Because more open?
Now, I would say during this Extra Magic Hours, there's definitely benefit of hitting Magic Kingdom. And you can, in that 8 o'clock rush, everybody else is still going to be low. So...
Yeah, right now.
Right now.
A little bit different. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's open so early.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's still, if you're going to use the Extra Magic Hour and just go straight to Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, it's still probably a little bit easier to get a lower weight than it would on a normal rope drop day. And that's kind of the same with the other parks. Like you can still, you still go in and can do Slinky Dog Dash or Flight of Passage, or Soarin' or Test Track or something like that. You can get at least one, maybe two rides in at very low weights, which at the other parks, because there are fewer rides, that puts you quite a bit ahead. Magic Kingdom, there are just so many rides. If you're only spending one day there, you're still going to end up waiting for something. So it's a kind of proportionally less interesting.
So then a follow-up question would be, Magic Kingdom-wise, typically with the evening Extra Magic Hours, it's like there's already people in the park, more people are more likely to stay, but are different attractions open at Magic Kingdom in the evening? Not the Fantasyland and Tomorrowland attractions. Do they have like the Haunted Mansion and the Frontierland attractions open in the evening?
I believe, Steve, do you know the answer to that off the top of your head? It's been a long time since I've done an evening Extra Magic.
I don't do them either.
I think the park is open. I think the whole park is open in the evening for evening Extra Magic Hours. But it's been a long time since I've done
those too. Yeah.
So do you think it's more worth it to do Magic Kingdom evening Extra Magic Hours, even if they might be a little busier? I don't know.
Oh yeah.
They're definitely worth doing if you're got the endurance for it. It's great.
That's the big question, isn't it? I'm normally dragging.
I'm looking at Disney's website now, and yes, Big Thunder is open, Country Bears, Haunted Mansion, and this is in addition to the Fantasyland and Tomorrowland. Magic Carpets of Aladdin is open.
Jungle
Pirates
Cruise
is open.
may not be.
Jungle Cruise is not listed. Yeah. Tomorrowland's. That's Tomorrowland. But yeah, there are the bigger rides, with the exception of Jungle Cruise. The bigger rides outside of Fantasyland and Tomorrowland are also open. Okay. I thought that was the case, but I didn't want to say for sure.
Okay, that's
where
what
most of the other parks, it's a similar set of rides in both the morning and the evening. I guess for Epcot is the only other one that has evenings Extra Magic Hours right now. So.
Katie wants to know, what would your strategy be for navigating Hollywood Studios for extra Magic Hours right now?
So if you have park hopping, I think you should go to Hollywood Studios at 6 a.m., even on multiple days, get everything done, leave at 9 o'clock, go to a different park, get your fast passes somewhere else, and not even bother with the tiering changes they have at Hollywood Studios.
So for two adults, would you say go straight to Galaxy's Edge and do Smuggler's Run?
If you're going to do one day, I would go 6 o'clock, ride Smuggler's Run, be done with that by 6:30. You could do probably all the other headliners before 9 o'clock.
That's crazy to think about. But yeah, you really could.
Yeah,
because that sets up a good pattern, because then you go into Galaxy's Edge, ride Millennium Falcon, and then you exit through Toy Story Land, do those rides right there, and then just head over to Sunset Boulevard, do that, and then you have to backtrack a little bit if you want to do Star Tours, but still Star Tours is the last one you should do. That's the one that will be the latest to build a line. So
yeah, you can always sleep in the afternoon, do that afternoon siesta, and then save your park or your fast passes for later.
Yeah,
in the
the
day.
last trip I made the kids wake up at 5 or 6 o'clock every morning. We got a lot done in 4 days, but the Sunday when we did Magic Kingdom, we left at 9 o'clock. The kids had ridden, I think, 10 rides. They did Space Mountain twice, Peter Pan twice, Seven Dwarfs Mine Train twice, handful of Buzz Lightyear. They were done. They were ready to.
They're like, we need coffee.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And for those of you, now Katie said she does have a park hopper, but for those of you who don't, what might be a decent strategy is to do the same thing. Maybe stay in Hollywood Studios a little later, go back, just spend some extra time at the hotel, go swimming, take a nap, whatever, then come back like mid to late afternoon, then get all the shows, check the show schedule, because some of them don't have shows past like 4 or 5, do all the shows, and then when it starts getting dark, do some of the headliners again. Yeah. So.
Yeah. You could really get that all in a day.
Get your one FastPass for a ride that's useful. And,
right.
Yeah.
But tier is so weird right now. And by the way, Steve has a really good article about the FastPass tiers and how they kind of work and what's changed and how you can kind of adjust them. So I will put that article in the description box after this stream. Okay. Yeah. Are there any more questions before we wrap up here? I guess do a lot of locals attend Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party on Halloween? I mean, it's a busy party for sure, because
it's the only one that will definitely sell out. It sells out every single year. In quite a ways. In 2016, I have some of my chart up here. 2016 it was 54 days. 2017 it was 23 days. Last year it was 16 days. So as the price goes up for it, it sells out a little bit closer to Halloween. But if you're going for Halloween, expect crowds. Now the ride times are actually really low for Halloween, because everybody just lines up for the party, for the parades and fireworks and stuff like that. But it will be at maximum capacity. And if you want to go, make sure you get your tickets like as soon as you want to go. Don't wait, because we're probably less than 54 days out from Halloween now, and it hasn't sold out yet as far as I know. But I wouldn't wait too much longer, just in case.
Yeah. We have a couple comments that I just want to read. Tom said, I've been using TouringPlans calendar for my vacation, and it's looking great. Thanks for all of your updates. And Nicole said, I always love your guys' tips for touring. Wonderful. Thank you so much. We really appreciate that.
Animal Kingdom is going to have a New Year's Eve celebration this year.
Are they wait, all night?
Yeah. The park will be open till midnight and have DJs in Discovery Island, Asia, and Dino Land, along with a New Year's Eve countdown show on the Tree of Life.
That's really late for them.
This is WDW Magic reporting. So.
It's very late for them.
Is it a special ticketed event?
It doesn't say that. It just says the park will be open until midnight. So.
I mean, they're probably trying to get people away from the Magic Kingdom and Epcot.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense.
Oh, can you imagine?
Typically, Animal Kingdom closes before midnight, and New Year's Eve day is nobody's going there because they want to be at a park that's open until midnight.
And everybody's afraid that like Magic Kingdom will hit capacity, so they get in there and don't leave.
Right.
How do you think Batu celebrates New Year's? Do you think they do? Is it just another day, different planet?
Well,
they don't even celebrate Life Day, so.
I know, that kind of remains to be seen then, how that will go.
They probably have a different calendar on this planet.
I know, we just
need to
we need to spend more time there to figure it all out. But I think we will wrap things up for today. Steve and Brian, thank you so much for doing this stream with me. I appreciate it. It was fun. We answered a lot of things, a lot more than we planned to, I think. All right.
Good.
Until next time, everyone have a great weekend. Bye.
All right. Bye, guys.